Go. Staying alive, Dan Grider, Probable Cause. Glad to have you with us. It's Sunday night, April 9, 2023. And I'm sure glad to have you with us in the chat room here tonight, live. If you're joining in, jump in the chat room and tell us where you're from. It's always interesting to see your comments and try to interact with each one of you. Lots of times there's more than 1,000 or 1,500 people in the chat room. Very interesting, and I sure appreciate that. And while I have the microphone here, I want to say thank you to everybody that's helped and supported the channel, and especially helped and supported airborneanimalrescue.org. Here's the website for it. We've completed one dog rescue. We've got several more in the making, and I'm trying to use the DC-3 for free for these organizations that need animals moved out of kill facilities. Remember, a dog pound in a government facility only can kill the dogs, euthanize them, and they will not attempt to move them and get them adopted out. It's the volunteer organizations out there that are taking the effort to take these animals, get them moved out, and get them properly adopted out. They're not being sold. It's not a dog selling operation. It's a dog moving operation, moving them out of dog deficit areas, out of dog overabundance areas into dog deficit areas where families are actively looking for home pets that can be used as a pet. They don't have to be fabulous pure breed dogs. They're just dogs. They're good family pets. They don't deserve to die is the main problem. And we can load up 75, 100, 125 of them at a time, move them out, move them into these areas and get it adopted out. If you can help support that, I am not a 501c3. I don't claim to be. Slide me $1, $2 if you're able for these videos, for the safety information, and for the dogs, if you can. Your donation goes directly towards my gas fund to be able to run the DC-3, which is extremely expensive, so that when these people call and they need an airlift completed, we've already got a gas fund. My gas fund has been kind of depleted off the last one, so I'm trying to build that back up. Here's your opportunities: Zelle, PayPal, Cash App, and Venmo. They're all completely electronic. They're completely secure. And if you give me $1 on Venmo, I actually get $1. There's no commission. There's no anything off of that. And I sure appreciate a lot of you in the past. I mean, a lot have given me $1 and $2. I sure appreciate that. Don't try to write off your $1 donation to the IRS because I am not a 501c3. Let's get into today's safety information here. I try to do these Sunday night videos to recap the previous 7 days. In this case, I'm going to go back a little bit further. And what we've really got to talk about here is AQP for general aviation. Some people have stopped to ask, what is AQP? I'm going to stop and define that real quick for you because we really need to talk about that first. AQP stands for Advanced Qualification Program. I didn't invent it. I didn't come up with it. This is an airline thing from many years ago. What the airlines did is they got together and they said, you know, there's some maneuvers that we use to get our jet type ratings, and then there's some things that happen to us after we're out flying the line. So they got a committee together and they decided what are the scenarios that are hurting our airlines, and they developed check rides, and they got approval from Congress to actually change check rides for an equivalent level of safety. Now the check rides can be scenario-based instead of maneuvers-based. So I want to go over real quick, what is the difference between maneuvers and scenarios? This is very simple. Maneuvers in the ACS, and I'm going to show you 3 of them here. Maneuvers in the private, commercial, and ATP ACS guides. These are the books used to get your check rides done. These maneuvers do not contain surprise. There is no surprise when the guy asks you to do a steep turn. There's no surprise with an S-turn across the road. There's no surprise with a Shondell. Maneuvers are absent of the element of surprise. Surprise comes in the act of scenarios, the things that are going to happen to you after you get your pilot's license. So what are the things that could happen to you after you get your pilot's license? Well, those are the actual scenarios that are actually killing us today. And we want to take special effort to go through these. I am most disappointed in AOPA, who still to this day does not understand this. I had several people contact AOPA as of recent, try to get them to understand and cooperate and put some material out through AOPA for their members concerning scenarios. What are the scenarios that could affect an AOPA member after they have their pilot's license? What are the scenarios that are actually killing them? Here's a screenshot from a text back and forth with AOPA, and I'm going to read it to you here. It says, "Hi, Stephen. Thanks for getting in touch with us on Messenger. We look forward to answering your questions about AOPA." Okay, fine. The answer is, "Hi, Stephen. Thanks for writing. AQP is an air carrier centric training program, and we support it for the audience it is intended for. That means that they do not support it for general aviation. They will not talk about, have anything to do with AQP for general aviation, mostly because they're associating with me and they hate me real bad. It's a real shame because the scenarios are what's killing the AOP members. Here's another text. I asked one of my other buddies who was friends with Mark Baker. I asked him to call Mark Baker and see what Mark Baker had to say. Here's the summary from that text, and the answer is, when asked about AQP as applied to general aviation, this is a text summary following a phone conversation between a member and Mark Baker, president of AOPA. And this is a direct quote from the person who gave me the answer back. He simply said that AQP is used by commercial airlines because of 2 airline pilots are flying the airplane. Mark Baker at AOPA thinks that AQP and the concept, the philosophy of scenario-based training is only to airlines, commercial operations where 2 guys are flying the airplane. He's completely missed the boat. And in the future, I want to do more interviews and more Zoom calls with individuals out there in the field. If you're qualified and an expert, I'd like to do a Zoom call with you for you to tell me how you are incorporating AQP, scenario-based training, after your clients and after your students already have a pilot's license. How can you better beef them up for scenario-based training? So I have the data in front of me. I'm going to go over a little bit of stuff from both March and April. I've been a little bit behind on catching up. I've got March totalized, and I've got the very beginning of April totalized. I'm going to go through these one by one. I'm going to show you the data on the screen. But before I do that, we're going to talk about a specific scenario. This is AQP maneuver number 4. And I want you to notice back in December of 2022, we lost a Cherokee off the coast of Florida, Venice, Florida. These 3 people took off in a Piper on runway 23. It was only seconds after takeoff, a night takeoff, and they crashed it into the water, killed all 3. Everybody said, why? How is this possible? What's wrong with the airplane? Did the engine quit? No, the engine did not quit. This is unintentional IMC after takeoff. And what happens is these people took off among the lights, the runway lights, the city lights, and as soon as they lifted off, now they're out over the water and it becomes very black. Even though there's not a cloud in the sky, it's IMC to them, and the non-instrument rated pilot was not able to adjust. That's the surprise. That's a scenario that occurred to him, and he did not handle it properly. He was not ready for it. He'd not been trained. He did not handle this properly. Now, we zoom on to last week when the Cherokee 6, same airport, same runway, number 4, unintentional IMC after takeoff. We lost 4 people in this Cherokee 6 260 last week because these people took off, same runway, and look, they hit at just about the same spot. They're in the air maybe 60 seconds before they crashed their airplane into the water. They were not expecting. They were faced with the surprise of suddenly going black out the windshield. There is no horizon. You can't see. You would have to be very well trained and expecting to transition to instruments, go wings level, and keep it climbing. They were not ready for it. So I'm going to rename scenario number 4 now. Unintentional IMC after takeoff. I'm just going to start calling it the Venice maneuver. In the airlines, we had several maneuvers that we had to do, and we gave them names, the Dallas maneuver, the Reno maneuver. Let's just call it number 4. Let's just start calling it the Venice maneuver. This is a scenario. This is a scenario that can happen to you, and I want you to be totally ready for it. This is all that happened. I'm going to zoom through that and talk to a little bit about that as I come to it. Let's take a look at the next set of accidents. I'm going to go through one by one here. So here's a summary of March 2023. Let's start at the top and zoom through these. November 300 ER was a corporate jet in Connecticut. One passenger died due to turbulence. Kind of unusual surroundings there. We're not really going to get into that. Apparently, the passenger not buckled in during turbulence after takeoff. Let's go on to the next one. 804 Echo Romeo is a Diamond DA-40 in Florida. This is a messed up go-around. They came in high and hot. They were landing to the east. John Holland, age 43, he attempted to do a go-around very late. He pulled it up and to the right, stall spin. This is a messed up go-around. When he applied power, the nose came up, it rolled to the right, it stalled, it spun, and both him and his passenger are dead. The next one, 3410 Zulu, is a PA-22. This is a Piper up in Georgia. I actually went to this crash scene. This is loss of thrust on takeoff. He never lowered the nose. He stalled and spun and went to the left. This is loss of thrust on takeoff. and one died in that crash. November 8149 Romeo is the next one. This is a Piper Warrior up in New York. This is the in-flight fire. One passenger died. So far, the flight instructor and another passenger are still alive as of this date. I don't have a status update on this. Very unusual circumstances here, but this airplane actually ended up on fire. I think the guy actually did a pretty good job of getting it down, the very best he could, but a fire in flight is not a very good thing. Now, here's the next one, the R-44 in Texas. This is unintentional IMC after takeoff. This is a Robinson R-44, Dr. Glenn Ide, age 56. He took off. He had a passenger on board. They took off. It was very foggy, daytime foggy. They rotated right up into the clouds in a helicopter, and he was obviously not ready for that. His flight lasted less than 60 seconds, and they were both dead. The 182, November 24289, is 182 Turbo out in Washington. We think as of right now, this is probably suicide. This is Rodney Collin, age 53. I've been in contact with the people out there. This is very suspicious. They don't have the airplane location. They don't have the body. They don't have anything on this thing. But Rodney Collin, age 53, left his cell phone in his car, turned off his ADS-B, and turned off his transponder. So we don't have an exact location of the crash site even yet. Then the two mid-airs, I was in Florida. You saw that footage. November 10510 is the J3 with November 9221 Delta. The Piper Cherokee giving flight instruction. 4 people dead on this, and this is simply a mid-air. I want to assign blame to the Jack Brown seaplane base. The operators of the Piper Cub did not have a listening watch. I believe that the Piper Cub flight instructor saw another airplane taking off from a different runway and assumed that a different runway was in use than what actually was. Because he did not have a radio and no way to listen, he never understood that there was an airplane in a traffic pattern and doing continuous touch and goes on runway 29 at that airport. The next one, 8424 Victor's S2R in California. This is a spray plane that hit power lines. Peter Mann, Sr. died in this airplane. And then we already talked about this one last week or previous. This is a 58P Barrett in Texas. Very young pilot, Blake Christie, age 26, lost the left engine on takeoff, and this is a VMC roll. It hit almost vertical, but he never closed the throttle on the opposite side, never got the dead engine feathered, never did the proper procedure, and the Baron, I can tell you, is going to roll. November 314, Fox Romeo, this is a 182 in Wyoming. Not very much information on this. I suspect either icing or IMC or something like that. I'll have more information later on that. And then I got a couple here that we want to talk about. 2 helicopters back to back. 441 Papa Delta is a R-44 in Louisiana. This is the police helicopter down there that was involved in the chasing somebody. It's in the middle of the night, and they never knew that the airplane crashed, but it was 900 overcast. When the chase was over, these guys went to turn around. They pulled up and into the weather, and this is where on any helicopter you can get mast bump. Mast bump is unloading the airplane too rapidly, and the blades actually flop so that the blades hit the rotor. Something hits something, but it's caused by zero-G'ing the blade. He dumped the nose over too hard, which is kind of typical. He was in a climbing left-hand turn, and he went back nose down hard, got a mast bump. The police said that they flew it into the trees. Not true. This helicopter got a mast bump, and it took the tail off the thing in flight and distributed it into the trees. It kind of looked like it was the trees that caused it. The accident actually happened up high as he dumped the nose over, got a mast bump. Let's take a look at the next one, which is also a helicopter here. This is the Bell 407 in California. This is Mark Carter, age 61. Private pilot flying a very complicated Bell 407 turbine airplane. Very low time. Here's his certificates. He did not have private pilot for fixed wing or anything like that. He's private pilot for helicopter only with no instrument rating. This is either a failed auto rotation or he ran out of gas. In either case, Dave VFR should have been able to easily land this Bell 407 off-site anywhere with a proper auto rotation. I don't understand how you could mess that up. Probably lack of training, probably lack of currency, probably was not expecting an engine failure, either a pure engine failure or he ran out of gas. In any case, I believe this is going to be a failed auto rotation, and both guys are dead. Both guys lived a few minutes after this crash, and they died shortly after, but it did not burn. It kind of gives me a best guess that probably it was out of gas, but I don't know. Here's another one into the power lines. This is 47AR. This isn't a helicopter. This is a AR-1, which is a gyroplane. Larry Price, age 75, in Gainesville, Georgia, flew it into the power lines, and he's dead. November 21480 is a PA-28 181. I'm going to let you listen to the text on this. This is Andrew Patterson. He's 66. He's flying VMC, and he encounters IMC conditions, and he declares an emergency. This is unintentional IMC. He's trying to stay VFR. He gets it up into the clouds. He is not ready for it, and he can't do it. This airplane ends up nose down into the marsh, and he's dead. And let's listen to this tape at this time.
Mayday, I'm in the clouds. I'm going down.
The very last one is this Zenith down in Mississippi, November 43401. The son actually lived. The guy that was flying the airplane and owned it, his name was Gene Smith. He was 68 years old. I believe he had an engine failure, but he crashed it into the trees. I looked at the debris path, the arrival, and everything like that. Plenty of other places that he could have put that Zenith, but he flew it into the trees. For whatever reason, the pilot did not survive this. The son did. He walked several thousand feet away from it and tried to get help, and they discovered him 4 or 5 hours later, still a long ways away from the wreckage, trying to find his way to go get help. But that's how that one ended up. I think this is probably either some kind of a mechanic or maybe an engine failure with a forced landing, and the spot that they picked to attempt the forced landing took it right straight into the trees, and the trees pretty much destroyed that. I like a good tree landing now and then, but boy, you got to get lucky, and you can't hit anything square on when you do it. So going into the trees is always second choice over an open flat field, which was available in the neighborhood. I'm not exactly sure how they worked themselves into that predicament. That's it for March. Let's take a look at April. Here's April's cheat sheet here, right here in front of you, and I'm going to put it on the screen here. The first one we're going to talk about is 231 Sierra Hotel. That's another helicopter down in Alabama, hit a power line. I'm going to show you the graphic on this thing. One pilot and one passenger are dead. Mark Gann, age 63, was flying it. They were trying to pick up somebody that was having heart problems or something like that. They couldn't land in the field, so they elected a highway landing. Problem is the highway had power lines. They hit the power lines, and that's all there is to it. November 424 Sierra Whiskey is an SR-22. In Oregon, Terry Richards, age 43, had another 24-year-old person with him. I'm not sure if it's icing or IMC or what they did, but they oversped the airplane somehow. Some pieces of the airplane fell off the airplane and were found separate from the wreckage. Also, they attempted a chute deployment, but it destroyed the chute. Remember, these chutes have a max deployment speed. The chute did come out, but it was ripped to shreds, and it was found also in a million pieces out there. So there is a max deployment speed. You guys flying the Cirrus products that think that the chute is always going to save you, it's only under proper circumstances. You can absolutely destroy that parachute by trying to deploy it when you're going too fast. And if you lose a piece of the airplane and don't have any pitch control, you're going to be going too fast. I would probably try to attempt to deploy it anyway, which they did, but it destroyed the chute. Let's take a look at the next one here. That's the PA-32-300. That's a Cherokee 6 or Lance that we already talked about. That's Jeff Lumpkin. He was 64 years old. 4 people died on that. That is unintentional IMC after takeoff. That's the Venice scenario. And then another SR-22, November 911 Tango Kilo. This is the guy, Howard Wasson, age 61, former Navy SEAL. If you ever saw the movie Black Hawk Down, this is the guy from all that stuff. Very nice guy, very well respected. And he commuted to his job 15 or 20 minutes south. He was scud running on the way home. This airplane lost speed and stall spun short of the runway at Jessup, Georgia. Look at the flight track that I think that they flew here. Here's where they found the wreckage. I think he overshot final, trying to stay below the clouds, and banked it hard left and pulled. In any case, they did find the wreckage just north of the extended center line. No real way to tell because we got no ADS-B data on this thing, and all I know is that it was definitely a loss of speed. He definitely did not have enough speed, and he got very, very close to the runway before the wing, and the entire airplane simply quit flying. There's no surviving that. Too low for the chute, and nothing you can do about that. Let's take a look at the next one. This is 44588. This is the PA-32-260 in Florida. Guy's name was Thyra T. Elliott, 83 years old. He flew a really long final here, and he kept on getting slower and slower and slower. I suspect he had an engine failure on final. Airplane did not burn, maybe out of gas. I don't know, but he stalled it very low. He made it over the airport fence, but he stalled it onto airport property, and it rolled over, and he died in the impact for that. And that's all we can do on that one. So that's March and April. I want to let you know that next weekend we're going to be on the road. We'll be at Air Mart in Kentucky on April 14th. That's Friday, open house. They got food and everything. We'll be in Air Mart, Lexington, Kentucky for April 14th, which is Friday. Saturday, we'll be at Purdue Aviation with the DC-3. It's a free day. You can come out and see the DC-3. They've got a ton of exhibits and people. There's employers. It's a career day. It's a fabulous opportunity at Purdue. Sunday, we'll be in Dixon, Tennessee. Is airport day. They have hot dogs and free food at the airport. Sunday afternoon, that's April 16. We'll be there for that. Toby will not be with us because he's in jet school, but we'll still be there. And then Sunday night, 8 p.m. Central Time, we're going to try to do YouTube live from Dixon, Tennessee, downtown. If you want to be with us for that, we're going to make an attempt at YouTube live next Sunday night, 1 week from right now, in Dixon, Tennessee, so we can talk through some aviation accidents. I won't have a chance to get home and edit a video, so we're going to attempt one live from on the road. I'll try to keep some chicken scratch notes on what has happened this next coming week on who died and what the airplanes were, so we can kind of talk through that. If you want to be on a live video with us, we're probably going to play a little bit of live music downtown Dixon, Tennessee, eat dinner, and call it good. And I sure appreciate you helping support. Remember my channel, airborneanimalrescue.org is the website, and I sure appreciate you watching and checking this out. If you get a chance, send a little message to Mark Baker, AOPA. Let him know that you are not exactly a fan of excluding AQP scenarios for general aviation pilots. I think we should actually talk about this, Mr. Baker, and I'm going to look forward to exploring this concept a lot more in detail as we go forward. I got to get out of here. Let's get this video up and on there for my tiny little itty-bitty fledgling YouTube channel, Dan Grider. Probable cause. See the problem with this girl here? She's got a chip on her shoulder.
Yeah. That's pretty neat. This is a pilot.
Pilot?
You're the pilot, aren't you?
No.
Huh? Oh, she's the pilot.
I landed us.
Oh, did you?
She's good. You wouldn't think girls could do anything, but she's actually pretty good.
All right. What's your name?
Mary Brittnell.
Mary? My wife's name, Mary. So, you are who, sir?
Fred Frinklemeyer.
Fred? Nice to meet y'all. I'm Kenny Price. Frinklemeyer?
Yeah, you gotta make sure you spell it correctly. F-R-I-N-K-L-M-I-R-E-I-E-R. Frinklemeyer.
Can I just call you?
She's really good, pilot.
Yeah.
She can fly.
Well, it looked mighty smooth coming in.
Women can do anything.
Start cleaning windows. Clean windows. You need to clean out that garage.
Yeah.